part 2
of our in-depth horror discussion
and review of Friday the 13th, the original. Alright, so we left off with the scene of the cop, and he's asking Kevin Bacon if he's freaking got hash or something. So then he leaves. It's filler forever, him leaving on the bike. And then so he's looking for the town drunk, the cop
Ralph,
is.
the
then it
cuts
cuts back to the kids inside their cabins, and when the chick's like cooking, and she goes to the pantry.
And they find the town drunk, Ralph in the freaking closet. It was badass. And you're like, damn, it would be crazy to find the town drunk in the cabin.
Yeah, especially if he was drunk.
And he's like, you're all doomed.
Oh yeah, and he's telling them, you're all gonna die.
Like filler of him riding out on the bike.
Yeah, and he gets on the bike, wasted, and he's driving.
Because the cop was like, oh, he's wasted today. He doesn't get wasted that often. Whenever he gets wasted, we have to round him up.
Because he goes crazy. Alright, so anyways, he rides away and tells them they're doomed. So then anyways, alright, so it cuts from there.
And that's when they start the old antique generator scene.
Like, but
it's so dark you can't see shit.
Oh yeah, it's just like the 70s camera, and it's like not even illuminating the night at all. You can't see crap.
And as we know, it's June 13th, 1980, Friday the 13th, and the sun's setting. It's getting
like,
on Camp Crystal Lake, so they're fucked. And this is when it shows the guy in the 88 jersey, the screwball.
Oh yeah, he's got his jersey back. No, yeah, the last time we saw him he had the diaper and the freaking Indian thing on, but now he's freaking got it back on.
And they, like we were saying, they keep it as a whodunit, and he like sees someone.
A classic whodunit.
Random in the cabin, and he was just like,
oh yeah, it shows him. So yeah, it shows everyone's they're spread out there at their cabins and showing the cameras going throughout everyone, and they show him, and he notices someone up at a cabin.
Of course, he's floating around the room gay, and he like
anyways, he sees someone up at a cabin, and he goes up there. He's like, who's it? And he goes up there, but then they don't even show what happens to him. So they cut away from him. Then they show what do they show?
The couple, Kevin Bacon,
from the lake, across the lake, and they're on the freaking logs, walking. They're kissing.
It starts to
storm. They're totally making out, spreading mono.
It storms, vintage horror movie style.
Oh,
always
yeah.
a storm.
It starts prop storming. The special effects back then, they freaking use lights as the lightning, and they like put lights on there, like they blink the light on.
A light bulb as
That's what I'm saying. They blink. It's like a yellow light, and it goes on Kevin Bacon's face, and he's like, "Whoa, look at that lightning!" And freaking, you're like laughing your ass off as you're watching.
He acts like he's interested in your story. She tells him about her dreams. She's like, "I dream about stories." He's like, and he's just like. He just gives a standard like white guy answer. He's like, it's just a dream, like just.
The part's hilarious.
Just get in her pants.
It's just filler right there too. Like, oh yeah, I've had dreams before. Like I've had dreams about storms. It's just like retarded lines, to make the movie keep going.
And then it's shots of trees in the lake, and then
tight shots.
Then they show a real storm, actual footage. They waited for a storm on that lake. No,
you were fooled into that. That's freaking prop rain, you fag. That's special effects rain.
No, only
they
for
had
their
the grips
domes.
with the hose spraying down.
Only for their domes. And then they showed shots of the lake storm, and everyone knows who's seen the movie recently.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right.
Then it's the sex scene in the cabin.
Alright. I gotta say something about this. I gotta say something. It was the most...
So they're gonna be the next ones to die.
It was the most awful thing ever. Because they're just spreading the AIDS. Alright, go on.
This is the last person you're ever gonna see alive.
Alright, yeah. So freaking, yeah, it's leading up because they're just doing the sin factor, like scream like the rules say. Yeah, they're definitely getting killed, But then it shows like, because it's dark in there, and as they're making out,
then
they're like on a bunk
back
bed.
to the sober cast, even though they're drinking like Red Stripe beers.
And they're drinking Red Stripe, and they're freaking playing Monopoly. They're like, oh, let's play Monopoly.
Like,
so then it cuts in between them playing Monopoly, and then cut back to them making out. And the couple, and they're like in a bunk bed, and then it shows like the lightning like lights up the room, and you see like the dead body of the 88 Jersey kid. Who's the Indian? He's dead above them on the bunk
Kevin
bed.
Bacon,
and
where
he's
they're
got
having
blood all
sex.
over him. Yeah, it's tight. And then freaking and then it cuts over from there back to the kids playing Monopoly. And they keep on. They're playing strip Monopoly, so every time they pass go or something,
they thought of creative ways how to do the kills and not give away who the killer was.
Alright, so they're getting butt naked playing Monopoly. And then
that's so sick. They had sex and they were swapping STDs.
Wow. Next to his dead body. Alright, we know.
On the bunk bed.
Wow. Right,
of the Camp Crystal Lake, 1980.
So, wow.
No, then
that's
it's
when
the
AIDS was all around.
No, then it's the
Was just
Kevin
getting
Bacon
heavy.
death scene, and he sparks the joint.
That's when AIDS was just taking over. All right, yeah. So yeah, This is when Kevin Bacon. They cut to Kevin Bacon. He's in his cabin. He's not with anyone else. So it's coming back to the Monopoly party, and then the other cabin of Kevin Bacon. He lights up the J. He's hitting it. He's hitting it.
It
And
might
then
be
out
a
of
cigarette,
nowhere,
but he smokes it like
out
a
of
J.
nowhere, freaking, he gets a freaking like arrow through the throat, like come up through him
No,
through the
it's
bag.
the freaking knife, Mrs. Voorhees'
Nah,
weapon
it's
of
an
choice,
arrow.
the long
Nah,
Michael
it's an
Myers style
arrow.
knife,
Alright, it's an arrow.
straight through the bunk bed.
And into his freaking neck.
That's why they also did in the remake. They made Jason shoot the arrow in the archery, because there's archery, because it's Camp Crystal Lake. They
You know, they
show him setting up the archery at one point
They
in
got
this
the,
movie.
the canoes and the freaking, bow and arrow freaking range and all that stuff. So that's why they put that in there. But anyways.
There's great gore, blood scene. I think there's even an alternate death scene on
Alright, from
YouTube
what I
of the Kevin
remember-
Bacon death
From
scene.
what I remember, it's a freaking arrow that goes through his throat. You say knife, but anyways, it's gone. So he gets
It's
killed.
on YouTube.
So he
Look
gets
it up.
killed. And then it cuts from there back to the Monopoly party. And then
No,
and
and
the
it's
chick,
the girl, and it's the Friday the 13th theme playing for
oh
a minute.
yeah, it kicks in. And it's like ding 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 ding.
No, that's when she's in her 70s thong again. She's just like looking at herself in the
Oh,
mirror
yeah,
after
she's,
she
like,
had
brushing her
sex, and
teeth.
she's like, Lizzie, you'll always be playing.
And she's like saying movie lines from like 50s movies.
No, they roll the death scenes in right here. This is like why this
Oh, yeah, there's,
movie's
like,
so
three of them back to
classic.
back. They got
This is
killed
great
off.
gore. How do you... People hate on this just because they're like, hey, because Jason's not in it and it's his mom. And Nate Dunning was like, oh, it's Granny gone loose or Granny
so
got
that's
ran
the
over
chick.
by a reindeer or something.
So,
But no, there's great gore, especially in the middle part of this movie and for the rest on from this point.
So back at the Monopoly.
No, she gets axed in the face right here.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like the blood dripping down.
It's a pretty tight kill. If you're watching that on TV, they just cut,
Right in the middle of the eyes.
they show her scream like because they show the killer's POV right before the kill inside the cabin where she's like washing or at the sink, and then freaking so she gets
Mrs.
killed.
Voorhees is
And
one
if you're watching
crazy
it edited on
bitch.
TV, they freaking don't even show the axe in her face, freaking. So you think the movie's whack. But anyways, so but it's tight kill. So then it cuts from there, and so go back to the Monopoly game, and she's like, "Yeah, I left my windows open." The main chick, and freaking just right before the other
They
chick,
canceled
the
the,
other chick who didn't have-
Monopoly game.
everyone had their clothes on except for the ugly chick, and then she just started taking them off, and then the chick's like, all right, I left my windows
They're
open.
like, script convenience, you're too
So
ugly keeping them.
Alright, so that's what I was trying to say.
And that's
So
when it goes
freaking-
to the diner scene.
So then it cuts from there to the diner. So that's what I'm saying. It's been like a good 30 minutes, 40 minutes that we haven't seen the boss that originally, that hired them at the cabin for Camp Crystal Lake, and he left, and then it finally went back to him now. He's at the diner, and it freaking shows him, and he like had a
Yeah,
freaking,
this is when
he had
you
a coffee,
hardcore make
had a
you
coffee
think
and
that he's
donut.
like on the town killing them.
and the freaking, he's like, how much do I owe you? And she's just like, oh, a night on the town. And it's
The
freaking
old
hilarious
lady,
lines. She's like taking his orders and freaking whining his ass.
And then it's like filler of the girl in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, so then it cuts from there, the chick in the cabin.
So he pieces out in his Jeep. And it's filler of like the girl in the green raincoat. And nothing happens to her for a while. It's just filler,
Yeah,
just
she was
like
brushing
to
her
make it
teeth.
along like
It just
theatrical
shows her like,
movie.
hey, she went here, and then it cuts from there. She went to another cabin to brush
And
her
then
teeth
Christy,
after she shut her windows.
the owner's Jeep
Yeah,
stalls.
he leaves in the rain, and it's raining.
That's when he gets a ride from like the Latino cop or whatever.
Yeah, cop comes, he signals a cop, and freaking he gives him a ride. He's like, yeah, I had my workers from the camp come pick it up in the morning. So then the cop's talking to him, and then it cuts from there
So it cuts back to
to the
the
chick in
girl.
the cabin, and then we hear the freaking voice.
What
The-
does she do?
No, they
She
had
starts reading a book
No,
because
no,
it's
no, 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 no.
1979.
they'd have the freaking the person on set with the highest voice. They're like, hey, freaking act like you're Jason's little boy voice, and he was like, help
Oh
me,
yeah, she starts hearing the noise. She's
help
like,
me.
I know, this is why we saw like 6 people play the villain in this movie.
No, it's like
like-
it's like that scene.
Whoever was on set with the highest voice, like he was saying.
No, it's like the scene from Last
like,
Action
"Help me."
Hero from freaking when they're on the roof with the mobster's freaking funeral, and he's like, "Oh, you guys hear him? He's alive! Help
This
me!
man is alive.
Help me!" And he like picks him up, and freaking they're all like, "What the?"
Exactly.
anyway, so then she hears that, and then she's like, "Oh, what is that? What is that?" And she freaking goes out with a flashlight. Or no, she just goes out.
This is when they ran out of ideas how to kill people without showing who the killer was. So
Yeah,
they
they
just
cut it
turn on
off
the
for-
lights, and it's like
Yeah, she goes out
spotlight.
there and the lights just turn on. She's like, "Oh," and it's
They're
like a
"Hey,
POV
turn on
killer.
all the lights on the set.
POV of the
and
killer,
she's
then
gone.
then it cuts from her like she died or something. They don't show. But anyways, but they show her dead body later on. throughout
No,
the movie.
then
in the movie we'll tell you.
then the two left, Linda and the main bitch and the guy with the Christmas colored flannel. They go and check on Brenda.
Yeah, they're like, "Where is everyone? Like, what's going on?"
And they find the axe
And
bloody
they find the axe
at the
all
tip
bloody
in the bed.
It's like retarded.
Awesome horror
they wouldn't
shot.
lift up the covers. They wouldn't lift them in the bed. But it's
No, because they were
convenience.
looking for him to see if they were sleeping, and they
Anyways,
saw a hump,
so
and
they
it was
find
the
the
axe.
So that's tight, and they're like, "What is going on?" They're like, "Is this a joke?" And they're like, "Uncle Frank, is this a joke?" You know, from Home Alone.
And then they, whatchamacallit, the cop and Steve Christie. The cop's like, "It's Friday the 13th
He's
in
like,
a full
Yeah,
moon."
it cuts back to the cop and the boss driving back to almost getting to Crystal Lake.
In
and
the
the cop's
same
like,
night.
"Yeah," he's telling
He's
the
like, "There's
statistics.
more rapes and murders on Friday on a full moon."
And the fact that it's Friday the 13th, he's like, both those factors come into, so it's a high percentage of crazy stuff happening tonight. And then he gets a call, like, of a car accident, so he drops him off to walk up to the gate of Camp Crystal Lake. So then the boss walks up, and then he's like, "Oh, hi there," and he, like, sees someone, and it's, like, the POV of the killer. And then freaking, he's like, "Oh, hi."
And he's
how's it
like,
going?"
"You
And then he
see,
gets
it's
killed.
an old
He
woman,
gets
Mrs.
stabbed.
Voorhees."
No, he didn't show. They don't show anything. He's just, "Oh, hi there."
Yeah,
and
but we
it's a
know.
killer POV, and he gets
The
killed.
fans of the movie
They don't
know.
show the death, but they show his dead body later on. So anyways, cuts from there.
Stabs him in the gut, kill. Don't really show any gore in that.
Yeah,
And then the killer shuts off the generator.
yeah. So the generator, the power all goes off everywhere. And
No, then the guy in the Christmas flannel goes out to check on the generator, and he's just... No, and he's like, finds out that it got siphoned, so Mrs. Voorhees, like, got blown... She's, like, high off, like,
She's
gas
huffing.
fumes.
Mrs. Voorhees is
Her
huffing
weapon
the
of
gasoline.
choice is, like, the Michael Myers knife and a few other weapons. The axe, the Amityville axe.
And what you're trying to say is that her drug of choice is freaking
And the
vapors,
arrow.
gasoline. Wow.
And her
Alright.
drug of choice is,
I already said it.
gasoline
Alright, so
vapor.
freaking no. So then it cuts from there, and they're like, "All right." So they check the generator.
So she got
So then they go to the
creative on
car.
this shit.
No, so then they go to the car so they can try and get help, and they try and start the car, but the car's acting up. So he's trying to work on it in the engine, and he's like, "Well, I guess," he's like, "They're not really alarmed yet." And they're like, "I guess if we need help, we can just,
No, it's Filler of the Dyke, like, making Insta-Start coffee.
Oh my
In the
bad.
cabin.
Filler of the Dyke.
And then in the cabin, there's no soundtrack,
put your
so you
fingers
know,
in the dike, man.
you're waiting for a jump scare, you know, but there's no soundtrack. It's like they were like,
Oh yeah, it's boring as hell, and it's filler.
They,
Like,
like,
for a
forgot
good
to add
3
a
minutes of her
soundtrack.
like
It didn't even
she's
make
sleeping
sense.
while the guy's checking the generator. That's what it is, and freaking. And then they go back to wondering what's going on. But anyways,
no,
she's
and she
making the
finds
instant coffee.
Bill dead, the guy, hanging from the door,
Oh yeah,
and there's like a lot of
goes out of the
blood,
cabin.
like of him dripping out.
this part's tight because he's hanging and freaking. If you would have found something like that in real life, you'd be scared as hell. Like someone freaking they're stabbed into the door. Like he's got some stabbed through his
Alright,
eye.
we're gonna go to
And freaking his
part.
blood all over him. He's all cut up.
Alright, we're gonna go to part 3, the ending of
Of the in-depth horror discussion review of Friday the 13th, JV of 2005, Mr. Creepshow.
1980.